What up guys, iOS Expert 649. I'm going to be demonstrating, I'm going to try and show and demonstrate why I think you guys should keep an old iPhone, iOS 26.0.1 for many more years. So if you have an old iPhone, iOS 26.0.1, let me be showing you why you guys should keep it that way and not update the software or the hardware for many, many years. And basically, the reason why is basically there's two reasons, and I will start getting to that. First thing is what Deep Humor has to say, and that is basically something that Deep Humor said. If you go search him up on YouTube, he'll make other videos about the negatives on the internet, but you know, he does make other things about negatives on the internet. But the way this affects their iPhones is that Apple is actually going ahead and suing ChatGPT. So Apple is suing ChatGPT, but what might happen if Apple has to get rid of ChatGPT from AI overview or from their AI Siri models, that's going to be a huge problem. So if you didn't know, this is basically on the 15 Pro Max and 16 and later. You probably shouldn't get any of those iPhones for a while. So if you have, I say have to say, if this iPhone, your SE or whatever, if your non-Apple intelligent iOS 26.0.1 iPhone isn't broken, like it still works fine, it holds a good charge, then I probably wouldn't recommend upgrading the software or the hardware. And the reason for that is your device still works. And basically, what this has to say for Deep Humor is, if you know who Deep Humor is, he talks so much crap about Google's AI overview, and I notice it's really bad in Safari. The response are really bad in Safari. If I use Firefox, if I have to ask Gemini something in the browser, I always use Firefox because I know it's more reliable and it gives me better answers. And alternatively, you can use their own dedicated apps like ChatGPT or Gemini. But what's actually going on is Apple is suing ChatGPT. Apple is suing ChatGPT for some other reasons. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that on my channel, and I'm also not going to get into what else Deep Humor does, but I'm just telling you what this might mean for Apple's AI models. It might rely on Gemini, and if Apple relies on Gemini, I mean, so the way Safari handles it is pretty bad. Like, it spits out incorrect answers like all the time. I've seen answers saying the iPhone SE is a 32-bit iPhone when really it's 64-bit iPhone, right? The iPhone SE is a 64-bit iPhone. This is the 2020 model. It said it was a 32-bit iPhone. And it said and that AI model in Safari, Gemini overview, AI overview in Safari literally said 2020 is before 2012. And that is a problem, right? That's a problem. That's obviously very inaccurate information. And imagine that being all over Apple's AI overview models. Like, it said this iPhone 2020 was made before 2012. Make that make sense. So that is what AI overview models have said, and yeah, and I know the overview in Google is really bad for that. So if Apple uses that for their AI models, that's a problem. And I say that to say, if your iPhone, being a 64-bit iPhone, obviously, is a 2020 SE. The 64-bit iPhone, by the way, came out in the 5S in 2013. So, 2020 is obviously after 2013, so, you know what I mean? So it's really, so like Gemini is really bad. Look, I'll show you Mac Tracker, right? Look, I'll show you Mac Tracker right now. Boom. 2020, like, you know what I mean? That is what it says. So I would not trust Gemini with that. So basically what I'm saying to say, I say that to say, Gemini spits out completely inaccurate and AI overview is really bad with this stuff. AI overview is really bad with this stuff, and if Apple integrates this into their Siri, the non-AI Siri is clearly going to be more accurate. So if you have an old iPhone 26.0.1, right, it's an iPhone SE from 2020 on 26.0.1, I will go into general and about, yeah, right there, 26.0.1. Now, sure, this iPhone lets me go back as far as I want. Sure, this iPhone lets me go back however far as I want. And that is because this is on 26.0.1. That's why I can go this far in the past or, this far in the future. Because it is 26.0.1. That's why it lets me do that. Not because it's not because of what AI Overview said. So, and I clearly showed you, Mac Tracker has it right. Because it's literally, 2020 SE, software, latest release of iOS, blah, 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 64-bit. So, yeah. Gemini had that completely wrong, as you probably imagine. Gemini had that completely wrong. So, or AI Overview did. I don't even know why I'm blaming Gemini. This isn't Gemini's fault. This is an AI Overview problem that we are running into in Safari specifically. So if you have to ask AI Overview, probably do this in Firefox, whatever. So, and I'm not even saying that because I'm a fan of deep humor. I am completely saying this out of my experience. And the second reason is that you should probably keep this iPhone for many, many years, maybe even up to 5 years, is that your iPhone 8 on iOS 16 or your iPhone 6S Plus on iOS 15, whatever, those things can still run YouTube. They can run iMessage. They can run fine. Apple still updates those devices. And, Apple, they do update their devices, even old ones like the 6S Plus. And 5 years ago, it was probably where the 2020 SE is right now, right? Or 4 or 5 years ago, somewhere in there. So I would say, and so because of that, I would actually recommend that you keep this phone. If this is your main device, I would actually recommend that you keep this iPhone at least until 2030, because I'd recommend they actually keep this iPhone at least until 2030, because if Apple is going to follow the same track that they have been, iOS 26 is finally usable. We have 26.6 beta 5. We have 26.0.1, which is pretty good as well. So like iOS 26 is actually pretty good now. iOS 27 is not really, obviously 27 is in beta 3, public beta for whatever stage it's at right now, obviously. So it's obviously not going to be as stable as iOS 26. But what I noticed is that over last week, I noticed how well iOS 26 has been holding up for me. And I'd actually recommend you keep iOS 26 for that reason. And if you still have 26.0.1, one thing that a newer version of iOS 26 is going to have that your device is not going to have is basically more stuff that Deep Humor said. I'm not going to say it again because I'm not trying to take credibility over anyone's content, it's their stuff, so it is their stuff, and Apple is suing ChatGPT, not because they're an AI. I mean, they're suing Chat for the wrong reasons, honestly. They're suing ChatGPT for the wrong reasons. So if you have an iPhone like this one that's capable of running iOS 26 but is not an AI iPhone, I would actually recommend you keep it, because it really couldn't hurt to keep it that long. So thank you for watching, and peace out.